It's 2013, and phones kept getting bigger as pants kept getting tighter. I don't think the phone and pants industries communicated that one all too well. In the midst of all this, though, sat a small Cinderella man upon Konami's ivory penis. Forced by the money men to make his game day in and out under dire circumstances, all work and no play makes Kojima a horny boy after all. You know, I sometimes wonder what it would be like to be all Stephanie Yost up in this bitch and say, "Holy shit, I can't wait to play my game that I am in. I am very excited." Only to get your own ass shoved down your face. In any case, people were hype, budgets ridiculous, and time of the essence, as corporate patience ran at an all-time low. But how did we get here, though? Well, my dear Dinky, take my hand, as together we will find out. Hideo Kojima began working at Konami in 1986. He did so after playing games at uni while being bored. I know this as Wikipedia said so allow me to cut the crap and stop being a generic YouTuber background boy and jump straight to the fact that Konami put him to work on a game about penguins called Penguin Adventure. Yeah, you know, it's a game. A runner game even. You got your world map, a bit of story, thus warranting the word adventure in the title, and generally your peng child just runs along as you dodge obstacles to some boopin' ass chiptune. There's also a whole bunch of unexpectedly crazy shit though, like gambling with fish, the fact that you can straight up buy a gun, and there's also boss fights. Yeah. Oh, and you go to space too. Now, while it might not seem like much, it is actually regarded as one of the better MSX games, mainly because of its performance. Shit was smooth, responsive, fast, and increases in intensity over time, and there's even multiple endings. It was neat. You could say something along the lines of, already his talents and quirks as a designer were starting to show, but that would be stupid, so fuck that. And I suspect that he likely felt the same. The dude just wanted to write shit, tell stories, and make big ambitious tributes to the movies that he liked. But he was a rookie, so most, if not all, of his original ideas got shut down and mocked as he was put to work as an assistant director only. One day, however, that fate changed. Well, it didn't actually really. See, Metal Gear wasn't originally his game. Another team was making it as more of a traditional action title like what one would see at the time, like Ikari Warriors or whatever. But as I already kinda alluded to, the MSX sucked ass in terms of providing frame rate heavy action-packed gameplay like what the arcades in the NES could do. So Kojima was asked to save this sinking ship, and in a move that actually seems to contradict the limitless ambition he would become known for, he simply chose to embrace the limitations and make a game that wouldn't be about fast-paced action, but instead about slow, methodical, you've heard this all before. Right out of the gate, this game establishes important Metal Gear tropes, like how you're greeted with dialogue the moment shit starts, then get to walk 3 steps only to be greeted with more dialogue. In this case, the dialogue is about the ultimate weapon Metal Gear. Mention it twice in a row verbatim for maximum impact. And to take care of that weapon, they send in Solid Snake, a rookie sneak man popping out of the water like a solid fish, penetrating that base like a solid dick. Look at that face! That second interruption, though, makes one thing very clear, being that the mission is infiltration. Make sure that the enemy does not discover your whereabouts. Over. Man, this game is old. Like, really old. and thus also very simple. You got your little snake mans walking about these rudimentary levels and these little guard mans who you need to avoid by staying out of their line of sight, doing the same in clear patterns. There isn't really anything to indicate what that line of sight is exactly, but at least when they spot you, you can mash button to smash face or shoot gun and take care of them that way. And of course, you also have items like shit to replenish health with, keycards to open door, and other shit to bypass various blockades, like a guard uniform allowing you to walk past these buff dudes.
That was easy.
In terms of structure though, I'd say that the game is a lot like your average Metroidvania. The base is quite large, with many of the just now mentioned blockades funneling you down certain paths where you need to find shit to get past. And it actually flows quite well, as there's loads of neat and crazy shit peppered throughout the base that keeps things interesting. Stuff like, say, taking out an electric grid by shooting the power box with a remote-controlled missile, using a gas mask to pass the gas room, having to use your wits with no inventory to escape a prison cell, and finding a guy by knocking on the walls. It's all great stuff. In a lot of ways, it feels like a bit of a blueprint for the modern set-piece-based blockbuster action game. I mean, you fight a fucking tank with grenades, a high D on the rooftops, and skill down a big wall with big wind. I'm sure that there's a point to be made here, but I can't quite put my finger on what. Anyway, this game is dumb. You got this thumpin'-ass cheeky sneak music accompanying the wee lads slowly dawdling about the map, and then one of them will say, "Yawn, I am sleepy," and pass out on the spot. And then you enter a random door only to... fuck is going on here? And don't get me wrong, while it is a stealth game for sure, it seems to be one that almost punishes patience with boredom and rewards you for being ballsy. Don't wait around. Use your stiff-as-a-dick ninja skills to awkwardly dash from behind cover to clock a dude out before his buddy notice. Run past this thing and grab the plastic explosives, avoid the mines, dodge the missiles, punch the walls. It's action stealth. If you're just gonna sit there waiting for walk cycles to finish, then shit's bound to get boring. Especially when you consider all of the backtracking it makes you do. So, grabbing life by the balls, as it were, is more rewarding, essentially braving the molasses to come out a super skillful fast boy. That is some tasty water. Now, any game where you fight a helicopter is technically good. But after you do the missile segment, you get these 5 fully explorable floors with no explanation of what need do, where need go, and which doors need which keycards, and also there's just an infuriating amount of dudes and cameras who can gank and kill you the second one of them even so much smells your soggy snake. It can be quite not fun. And I was pretty much ready to just drop the game altogether, to be honest. However, I did push through. The thing is that weirdly enough, my knowledge of Metal Gear Solid actually helped me out here a great deal. Like during this bit, where you need to bang on walls to find weaker bits to place down plastic explosives so you can pass through. From what I can tell, there's no way you could have found out about this other than simple trial and error, given that the radio isn't much help and that nothing about these walls visually indicates that they could be broken. And I don't know about you, but randomly punching walls isn't actually something I do very often. Especially when you also have these ration and ammo draining dogs running about, incentivizing you to run the fuck away more than anything. It's not exactly intuitive. Although, compared to other games from its time, i.e. Zelda 2, Castlevania 2, or Final Fantasy 2, it actually is. For example, going up on the roof doesn't just give you a little... Nah, you get that phone call telling you about the bomb blast suit. Getting it, of course, still requires the blowing of the walls I just went over, but you are actually coerced into the right direction, sort of, given that you're forcefully brought to this floor and then jailbreak in a similar way. Plus, all of the floors have clear blockades, or mostly at least. You can kind of sequence break a little bit, finding items way before you're supposed to. But generally, I was very much led into the bomb wall basement in numerous ways. It's just that... said bomb wall basement was all like, fuck you! Making you more likely to second guess and go elsewhere to get lost anyway. Which, yeah, it kind of leads me into the game's biggest issue. Backtracking. There's a few areas in base where ammo and rations will respawn endlessly. You will go back to these places a lot to replenish stock. The base is laid out pretty well, I guess, with loads of little shortcuts and loop arounds that unlock as you keycard, but it's still kind of a tedious affair considering that it's really easy to miss stuff or lose shit that you lost upon one of your many deaths. For instance, you can run into a boss only to find out that you can't kill it. Not because you don't know the trick, aka placing mines, but because you don't have enough mines to do said trick with. So, you gotta go back to the mine spawn, right? Well, apparently I was already carrying the maximum 10 mines. You see, this game also has a ranking system, which is kinda like a level in an RPG. Doing certain things like freeing hostages raises rank, and more rank means bigger health, larger damage, and higher item caps. So, I had to fucking walk around all over the place, angrily stomping my way past all manner of guards, taking big hits as I went, just to find this one fucking hostage who could raise rank so I could get the mines. Only, of course, the hostage and the mines were fucking miles apart, and so I also wasted loads of rations in trying to get there. Thus, needing to go back to the ration spot too, and naturally, after beating the boss, I was greeted by the news that I needed a uniform which was hidden all the way back at the blow walls, though the one wall that it was behind was even more obscure and random than the others. It's just too much. Granted, shit does flow very well when you aren't backtracking. Actual progression can be quite rewarding, boasting interesting new dude setups on every screen, many a gimmick, and fun bosses who can just pop up out of nowhere, which is also fucking hilarious. But if you even so much as dare to get stuck, then get ready to hate yourself. Though, I guess that overall it is pretty cool. I do kind of wish that the story would have been a bit more, actually there. Big Boss sends Snake in to find Grey Fox, which he does, only when he does, he says like 4 lines and disappears only to never to return. And then yonks later, Big Boss reveals himself to be the big bad. The end. The bosses, the hostages, even Snake himself aren't really characters, which sucks. But then we do have to start somewhere, right? What's funny as well is that this wasn't even the version that most people played. I mean, while the MSX did pretty well in Japan and Europe, where the gaming crash never happened, and PC architecture and consoles wasn't weird either, in America, things weren't exactly that peachy. Nintendo was the big dick dangers over there, you see, and Nintendo made games for babies, and Metal Gear was not for babies. So they chucked some code over to a completely unrelated Konami division and asked them to baby it up some, squeezing that bad boy onto a cartridge as they go. Which went about as well as you'd expect, really. Obligatory Whodot. This Snake is not on a plane, as he gets dropped along with some other people who we'll never meet, from where he follows this weird bastardization story that kind of follows the same events, but also not at all. The base game, though, functions very similarly. You got your Snake Mans and your Guard Mans. Controls are about the same as well, though the menu is far less intuitive. And generally, you just punch the guys and die a lot. However, on the first couple of screens, 2 things stood out right away that served as a type of bad omen. One, the translation, "I feel asleep." Second, it broke. Mana respawn when you leave an area and will be put at places with no regard as to where you will be, resulting in situations where you take out the guy, enter the truck, get the thing, leave, only to get shot by the same guy immediately. And all that within the first minute of the game, so naturally I was pretty gosh darn excited to see how this monkey-ass design was gonna develop over time, and yeah, it doesn't so much have bad design per se, as it just doesn't have any design at all. You take so much damage and the stealth is completely broken. The set pieces, guard patterns, and clearly defined cover that made the original fun enough for what it was are just not even a thing here. Dudes will be dotted around willy-nilly and will turn around on a whim, killing you in like 2 hits, thus putting you back at the start every time. Literally, from any point in the game, death means doing it all over again, which that's not okay. This game needs help. A blankie and a glass of warm milk. So the level layouts are bad. The OG was big and kinda confusing near the end, but at least it had a lot of memorable set pieces. Not like screens that loop, loads of dead ends, and random trucks that teleport you all over the place without warning. It's really confusing, honestly. I feel that this game is perfectly summed up by a random hole emerging from the floor, dying, and being set back to the first fucking screen. MG NES is awful. I know Konami Corporate has very few fucks to give in general, but they literally gave out zero to the poor souls forced to make this shit. Just nothing works here. The only good thing about it is the soundtrack. Shit's catchy and I fuck with it, and I guess considering that it's an NES game, it also looked pretty alright for its time. Nothing stunning like Vice Project Doom or whatever, but I mean, you know. And it does almost sort of kind of get better once it starts ripping entire chunks out of the original, but even then the garden camera patterns are just broken as all fuck. Cause, I mean, look at this. This vertically moving camera right here should move about this far back so you can pass by, only it doesn't. That's a fuck up. And fuck up bad, so yeah, don't play it. Maybe my age isn't helping here. It's not like I grew up with an NES exactly, but this is easily one of the worst games I've ever attempted to play. As I said, nothing about it works. It broke, it jank, it's bad. It Konami Corporate going behind Kojima's back to make a bad game using his ideas. And hopefully they'll never ever do that ever again. Again. Reverb. Kojima-chan will never find out about our devious plans. We will make so much money off of his ideas. And so, the evil men at Konami sent in Lieutenant Solid Snake and his 2 men to infiltrate the base. All behind Kojima's back to make so much money off of his ideas. Will he ever find out about their devious plans? Yeah, you know, he will eventually. But, man, I love this game's dialogue. No actual English-speaking person touched this, and it is great. The fucking thing starts off with accidentally questioning Snake's cred, and then helicopters, and the music's all like... And then this random explosion, and just... manly! And it plays in a manly fashion, too. You run up to people, and then you die. Because the game is also really broken. And, you know, I think it thinks that it's a stealth game still. See, if a guy spots you, dozens of dudes will start flooding the screen, shooting at you diagonally while you can only shoot straight, and you also like die in 5 hits. Which wouldn't really make it any worse than MGNES if it weren't for the fact that the guards are literally random. Sometimes they will spawn straight up on top of you, and other times they will stand still for minutes doing nothing whilst looking straight at you. It is worse. You can punch a guy in the fucking neck and still have the alert face trigger as he stun lock. I just don't think that they planned out the stealth mechanics very well, you guys, I'm gonna be honest. Though, at least one of the 2 men helps you infiltrate the base by letting him get got. Shit has legit more cutscenes than any of Kojima's games so far. And also, this soundtrack is pretty fucking great. You can listen to it while dudes turn to the only place you could be standing once entering a zone, and also while you get those juicy key cards. It is still a Metal Gear game, I guess. Contra sections be damned. And hey, they even hit you with MGS2's underwater mine bit decades before that would become a thing, so it gets about 10 points for that too. As, honestly, I kinda enjoyed this one. Rather than the brokenness working against you, it kinda works in your favor to make this dumb, goofy little action game. A Metal Gear Light, if you will. All the bits are there as stated, and the base is actually designed decently well, as it doesn't require you to think much. You can just dawdle around booping it to that goofy music as you pick up keycards and beat some dudes. Death also doesn't set you back much at all, and I actually had fun going in and out of all of these random rooms to see what type of dumb shit these hostages had to say. I could easily see this being great fun in case of child with time, so yeah. Sure, it's dumb, but dumb in a fun way. That's kind of charming and fun, and not expecting you to be any more intelligent either. I'd play this over NES Metal Gear any fucking day, that's for sure. Well, apparently the boss fights are fucking impossible, so yeah. Fuck this game anyway. But fret not, dear viewer. As from here on out, we enter the epic saga of Konami screwing over Kojima and him fucking them back by not making exactly what they wanted. Oh, a tale involving meta-narratives, heavily repeated and questionable game design, repurposed scripts, and some very unfinished ass shit. Wow. What excitement. Surely you will join me next time, whenever that is. As doing all Tekken games in a row kind of killed me. And while the Final Fantasy VII compilation retrospective went fine on my end, it's clear from the view counts that people wanted a bit more variety, so I'm not gonna back-to-back these. Part 2 will come when it comes, like 3 or 4 weeks from now max. Kinda like that. Okay? Okay. Bye.